years, I've been in so many weddings, from being a bridesmaid to helping plan bridal showers and bachelorettes. I mean, there was even a good 4 or 5 years where every single weekend all I did was work a wedding. And that's because I worked at like a golf club where they would host big weddings. And so, I mean, literally every single week, year after year, I was going and I was, preparing the tables, putting up the decoration, serving the wedding guests. Like, this happened for years. And so naturally, when it was my turn to get married, I had this entire idea of how things were going to happen. And it's funny. Sometimes we don't even know we have perceptions or we have expectations until those expectations aren't met. And, I get engaged and I have all these ideas. And then, of course, COVID happens and my wedding was canceled not once, but twice, just because of some of the different stipulations and the different issues that happen in California. And me and my now husband, I mean, we finally got married and crossed that bridge. But looking back on that entire situation, I definitely feel like certain things could have been easier had I just had a more realistic expectation. And that's a little bit what I want to talk about. I think sometimes as women, there is so much pressure for this particular day, for this day to just be like the most perfect day ever. And I think that's actually setting yourself up for failure or for disappointment, because if you expect that, okay, this day, everything is going to go just as I want, or this entire engagement process, everything is just going to be peaches and cream, then again, you're going to be disappointed. But the main thing for me is I feel as if the expectations that I had, the things that I thought that I needed, when they didn't happen, yeah, it made me sad. But looking back on it, I'm like, those things aren't necessary to actually have a happy marriage to begin with. I think what's more important is to focus on building the marriage and having the actual tools that you need to sustain a marriage than actually focusing on a big day. Now, I mean, what I mean is, of course, you can still have fun. You can still plan for things. You can still you do all the things girls like to do, right? We like to look at the different colors. We like to decide how's our table going to look. We like to pick out the flowers. Like, I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with that, but the emphasis should actually be preparing your life to be bounded with another person's life. The emphasis should actually be, okay, making sure that your relationship is on point and that you guys know how to communicate well. You guys know how to support one another. Like, you know how to love him and vice versa. Like, the emphasis should really actually be the marriage. And, what I learned was that so much of my life was really focused on, or just, I guess so many of my ideas are focused on preparing this perfect day. And it wasn't until things didn't necessarily go the way that I wanted that I started to realize, wait, okay, I had it all backwards. Like, even as I'm getting married, I need to make sure that my focus still is my husband. I need to make sure that my focus is still our relationship. And if I allow a party or a celebration to get in the way of my love for this person, or to get in the way of this relationship, then I have priorities off. And I think it's incredibly important for any woman who is wanting to get married. And again, I say this because, many of us, we've been sold that we've seen this from all the Disney movies, from some of the different romance novels, to some of the different, rom-coms. Like, how many times have we seen the big, oh, beautiful wedding on magazines? I mean, there's an entire industry, like a multi-million-dollar industry dedicated to weddings. And so we have been sold this dream. Many of us, even subconsciously, we've been sold this dream. And I think it's really important, though, to remember that the emphasis needs to be the relationship the entire time. So whether or not your engagement process is easy, you're able to get the venue you want, you're able to get the flowers you want, the colors you want, the photographer you want, like everything goes the way that you want, great. If everything doesn't go the way that you want, okay, because the most important thing should actually be the marriage, and it should actually be the love for that person. And I think things not going the way I wanted, there being a lot of unnecessary drama, a lot of different things, it really challenged me, and it really reminded me, like, hey, this is about a marriage. And I'm so grateful, because I feel like some of the different challenges that me and my husband went through, it really did, I think, it did force important conversations. It did force, certain communication skills to be at the very least developed. And of course, I mean, certain things are going to happen over years, but I feel like now more than ever, when I got married, I had the right tools necessary. We had what we needed to get started in a healthy manner. And I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful that, okay, maybe things didn't happen the way that I would have thought. But what was more important is that we got the tools, we got the advice, we got the counseling, because him and I, we did some marriage counseling. And that helped. That really, really helped. That helped us navigate some of the different disagreements. It helped us navigate some of the different tense moments. And looking back, I'm so grateful that even though things didn't necessarily go the way that I anticipated, that I actually had the tools that I needed to start marriage in a good way. To feel like, okay, you know what? Yeah, we're not perfect. We're going to grow, but I feel ready. I feel prepared. And so I think that is so much more important. I think it's so much more important that the actual relationship and preparing for the relationship, spending the time and energy, making sure your heart is right, making sure your spirit is right, making sure you actually have respect, making sure that you're honoring God. Like, I think that is so much more important than really getting stressed out over just a particular day. And I say this as somebody who was guilty of doing that and wasted way too much time, probably just stressing about things that didn't matter. And again, I'm not saying that you can't have, a fun time. Like, I loved my wedding. I had a fun time. We made it fun. You know what I mean? We made the best of it. But like I said, it wasn't what I had planned. It wasn't what I thought to be my dream wedding. But it was I had a beautiful experience. And like I said this to a friend earlier, and I'll say this again. I think if we go in with a mindset that, like, hey, things will be perfectly imperfect, that takes off the pressure for this day or this event to have to be just top notch. But what's more important is that your relationship with your husband or your soon to be husband is on point. And if the party is great, but your relationship is trash, it's not worth it. If the party sucks, or if it's only you and one other person, but your relationship with that man is on point, you guys are loving one another, your relationship with God is strong, your connection is strong, that's the most important thing. And honestly, it's unfortunate that as women, we weren't necessarily showed that. A lot of us were showed like the glitz and the glam and the party and the big wedding. And I think this is partially why divorces are so high, because the emphasis is more on the show and it's not on the intangibles. But the focus should be on the intangible. The focus should be in the relationship. And like I said, although my engagement in many ways felt sucky, and it felt like, man, I didn't want this to happen, I am so grateful that I had to learn that lesson, that like, hey, it's not even about that. It's really, really about my love for this person and making sure that we are prepared to go on this life journey. And so that's what I would encourage every woman who is like engaged, planning a wedding, or hoping to be married, to just make sure that you go in with the right expectations and not think it has to be perfect, because it's not about perfection, but it's about your love for that person. So those are my thoughts, but let me know what you think. Leave your question, comments, concerns in the comment section below. And thank you so much for listening if you've gotten this far, and we will talk later. Bye.